All right. Well, welcome everybody to our session dedicated to tech and small businesses. It's the fourth of our 5-session virtual speaker series focused on women in business. So thank you all for taking time out of your evening to join us for this panel. I'm happy to have you all here. My name is Kirsten Hennigan. I am the West Fargo Public Library Adult Services Manager. It's exciting to have this dynamic duo of speakers together for today's panel. I'll be kicking us off today and have just a few announcements and housekeeping items before we get started. And we'll hand it over to subject matter experts. So first, the Women in Business series is part of the West Fargo Public Library's One Book, One Community programming. We have a total of 4 targeted sessions that tackle a component of your business. And first, we had a panel of brewers and bakers to really kick off the series. If you're looking to refine your business strategy, learn more about business finance or HR best practices, you can check out our upcoming events on our Facebook and website. If you want to see the ones that have already occurred, you can check out our YouTube channel for those recordings. For those that are unfamiliar, the One Book, One Community programming is a collaboration between the Fargo, Moorhead Metro public and academic libraries in the community alongside our historical societies. The group selects a book for the whole community to read, and then each partner plans and hosts different programs throughout the months of August and October. This year's book is The Lager Queen of Minnesota by J. Ryan Straddle. We'll be having a virtual author talk on September 24th, and you can check out those details on the One Book, One Community West Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo Facebook page. It's quite the mouthful of a Facebook page title. The other things that are happening at the West Fargo Library is that we have a virtual kitchen series with Square One Kitchens and many of the women-owned businesses that call it home. It's called the West Fargo Public Library Midwest Kitchen Series. We have some featured recipes like chocolate stout and peanut butter bars, as well as our cheddar and green chili sourdough beer bread. So you can check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel to bring those recipes into your kitchen. My last announcement is to encourage you all to take part in our Beanstack challenge. Beanstack is our online reading log platform. You can log your reading and completion of activities on the mobile app as well as on our website. It's basically like the Fitbit of reading. You can create new challenges that we have for summer reading and our winter reading challenge, but we have one specific to One Book, One Community that's all activity based. So things such as attending today's virtual session count toward the challenge. And once you've completed all the activities, you'll be entered to win a copy of the book read for this year. So again, we're just so excited to have all of you here for this series of sessions. For today's session, we'll hear from our speakers for about half-ish of the time, and then we'll jump into some Q&A. We have some prepared questions, but if you have questions that relate to your business, please just enter them through the Q&A part of the webinar. And then we're entering this new time of tech and virtual programming, so if something's not working, just let me know via chat and we'll try to get it sorted out. Lastly, last housekeeping item is I want to know your feedback. So you should have received a copy of our survey through the email that got you the invitations for today's session. So give that a minute or two to fill out those questions after we finish up today. It will also open up in a browser after you close out the window. So let's introduce our 2 panelists. I'm so excited to have both of you here today. We have Megan McDougall and Teresa Garrett. Meg McDougall is an account manager at High Point Networks, where she has been a member of the sales team since 2014. HPN is a value-added reseller of technology, hardware, and software solutions, specializing in network, data centers, phone systems, and security. High Point Networks serves clients across the entire Great Plains region and has grown to 9 offices and 150 employees since the company opened its doors in 2003. Megan loves being a technology account manager because she gets to help translate tech talk into business talk and help drive success, efficiency, and productivity for her clients to help them achieve their goals. Megan is from West Fargo, North Dakota, graduated from Concordia College, and currently lives in Moorhead, Minnesota. Welcome, Megan. Teresa Garrett has been with Microsoft for 2.5 years, where she's an Azure Customer Success Manager. As an Azure Customer Success Manager, she helps Microsoft customers get the most out of their technology investments and helps organizations adapt and change their technology as they grow. Before moving to the Fargo-Moorhead Metro, Teresa honed her tech skills while in Raleigh, North Carolina. She's a proud graduate of the North Carolina Central University. She's also a co-founder of Arise Communities, a nonprofit focused on bringing inclusive technology learning opportunities to the FM area. She's a lover of all things tech, avid K-drama fan, and passionate about people. Welcome, Teresa. All right, well, let's jump into this time where you guys get to talk and I can stop talking.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kirsten, for the introduction. And I want to thank everybody that is online this evening. I have to pause and give a major shout out to my dad. My dad has joined the conversation this evening. So hi, Dad. Nice to virtually see you. And I wanted to take a couple moments and just talk more a little bit about some of the things that, as a small business owner, and especially as women, some of the things that you should be thinking about when you are going to be making a technology investment. And so if you want to go ahead on and advance my slide, please. Perfect. So basically, you have to get ish done. You have to ensure that you get your to-do list done so that you can bring in income and bring money for your business. Because I don't know about you, but starting a business, you do that. So yes, you're trying to solve a problem, but you're also trying to generate income and bring in some money as well. So you want to ensure that the tools and the products that you have, the technology that you have, allows you to get that to-do list, that never-ending, always growing to-do list done. And so as a small business owner, you wear many hats, and you want to ensure that the products that you buy and are even thinking about using allow you to do that. So some of the things that I would really recommend is that you try to look at for products and tools that are all in one. If you think about it, if you look at all of the many tabs that you have open throughout the day, think about if you are using one product to chat with people and using another product to use a phone to call people, and then another product to store your documents. And then maybe you're using another product to do some collaboration, some project management. Think about the tools and the products that are out there that have an all-in-one feel so that you can actually get the most bang for your dollar. Because you want to maximize not only your time, but you also want to maximize your money as well. You don't want to be spending tons of money on different products if you can get one product that does everything. Yes, I work for Microsoft, and our mission at Microsoft is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And we do that by bringing amazing products, software, hardware, in order for you to do that. Collaboration, productivity, those are a lot of things that you have to look at as well. And you want to, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that, I always say this, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. If you think about it, you're using your money to purchase a product. And so if you can negotiate your terms and your sale purchase terms as well. Think about what they'll give you is the contract, and yes, that's the pricing, but just see if there's some wiggle room in the pricing, or if you buy X amount of seats of a particular license or of a product, if they will discount it more for you. So never be afraid to open your mouth and ask for the things that you need that can help you in terms of the purchase price that will help you down the line. You're a small business owner. You maybe have, your budget may be small for your technology, but you know that your idea was going to grow. So you want to make sure that you're fitting your purchase price into your budget. Don't be afraid to ask for what you need, if that's negotiating on those sales terms as well. And then also think about scalability. Can you grow with the products that you're intending to buy? Can you, if you are currently one person, a one-woman shop, are you going to be able, when you start adding on additional employees and people, can you scale that product up? And not only can you scale it up, does it quickly scale up? And are you able to just continue business as normal? Or what if you have to scale back down? Is that something else that you can do? So I would really encourage you to think holistically about your technology when it comes to the collaboration side of what you're going to do, so that you can get what you need to get done, that never-ending to-do list, so that you can ensure that not only is your business running as efficiently and effectively as possible, but that you're also able, that your costs for your technology are not so exuberant that you're making money to pay your technology costs. So ladies, all of our guests that are in the room, I want to make sure that I say everybody. I would really encourage you to really think about some of these things. And these are just 4 really quick bullet points when you're thinking about your technology. The biggest one, though, I would highly recommend is, before you purchase something, is to look at what you do already in a day-to-day, and see if you can find tools. I will say you all should look at Microsoft Teams for collaboration and productivity, because that product is amazing. And see, not only, you don't want to just purchase it right then and there. It's like, how can I describe this? It's like a pair of shoes. And ladies, we know, we do our research when we're looking at new shoes. We look at all the colors. We can tell you all of them, what it comes in, the materials. We can tell you if it comes, how it comes. And that's what it is with technology. You want to ensure that you are getting the specifics, and not only that, that you sign up for that trial and really take it through the ringer, the product, really, really, really use it, and ensure that it's going to be beneficial for you and your company as you grow as a small business owner. That is really the meat of what I have to say. I don't want to give you too much. I want to leave you with little nuggets so that you can begin thinking about how you can look at the collaboration and the productivity tools, so that you can get done, get that never ending, always growing to-do list. Not only be able to have the satisfaction of crossing off things off the list. So thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Megan, and she's gonna.
Yeah. Also, I love that. Let's compare technology to shoe shopping from here on out. That's gotta make sure they fit.
I'm gonna thank you.
Thanks so much, Teresa. So as Kristen said at the beginning, my name is Megan McDougall, and I'm an account manager at High Point Networks. So she kind of filled you in on High Point Networks. We're a value-added reseller. We're across the Great Plains region. A couple additional notes: we work with clients that are companies of 5 to companies of 5,000, and so I'm fortunate to have experience in having conversations just like this every single day of, where do I start? What do I need to be focusing my energy on? And then watching them be able to grow and move into the different sections of business, no longer small business. Now you're into medium, now you're into enterprise, and it's great fun. The other note that I wanted to add is that we are also vertical agnostic. So we work with manufacturing, healthcare, finance, K-12, city, state, local government, kind of all of that. And so our experience really goes across the board there as well. So any size, any industry, that's what High Point does. So when I was tasked with thinking about what information I would want to share with folks that are running or working with small businesses, my brain immediately went to security. And that is because if your intellectual property, your assets, your people are really what your business is. And so if for some reason that were to get breached, that's going to be business critical and perhaps crippling. And so not to be the naysayer, but it is something that you do have to focus energy on, and something that is well worth your investment dollars and your time and energy to be able to make sure that you are not putting your information in someone malicious's hands. And also it will then help you be able to scale and be able to start having a deeper and broader technology conversations once you take care of these 4 baseline items. So I'm going to quickly run through why I chose these 4 as your security baseline items, and then we can turn it over to any questions that those that have joined us have. So the first one that I wanted to touch on is passwords. So they say that hackers or bad guys no longer hack in, they log in. And that's because most people have really bad passwords. So we all know that the password 1234, that's, password is admin, password is the name of your dog, and then the day of the month that you were born. I know that all of us have had that password at some point. And guess what? It's really, really easy to hack. And so it's important that that your company have a good password policy, and B, a good way to enforce that password policy. So that's looking at something like Active Directory. That can be, premise-based, cloud-based. That might be farther than we want to get in this conversation. But I just want to focus on the fact that passwords are important and attention needs to be given there. 43% of data breach victims were small businesses in 2019. So it's also especially relevant for small businesses to be focusing on, because you're small, but you're still very much a focus for malicious actors. 2 other buzzwords I'll throw at you are multi-factor authentication, especially with Microsoft products, but a lot of other products out there. You can turn on a secondary form of authentication. So you type in your password, and there's a second requirement, lots of different products out there, that you also have to initiate in order for your account login to actually happen. And that just is an additional level of security that if you have it on any of your accounts, and I mean like your Gmail password, your Netflix account, your bank account, anything that it's available on, turn it on, because you're gonna be thankful that your account, next time there's a password breach, that'll be a stopping point for whoever the bad actor is. The other buzzword with passwords is a password manager. So that's going to be something like LastPass, RoboForm, something like that, because that allows you to save complex passwords in a secure place, so you can actually use complex passwords and not need to use spring 2020, summer 2020, fall 2020. I'm saying passwords that you've used before. So those are a couple tips on passwords. The next one I want to touch on is antivirus. More than 350,000 pieces of malware are produced and distributed every single day. And that means that your laptop, your desktop, your server are going to be, could potentially be a victim of all of these different pieces of malware that are being thrown in the universe. And so you need something that is an antivirus to be able to block against those. And because there's so much new malware being produced every single day, you want a piece of software, an antivirus, that is not only going to check against known viruses, but also unknown viruses. So keeping that in mind as you're analyzing products is going to be extremely helpful, because it's going to be able to detect something that is a brand new piece of malware that your patient zero, your victim zero. That's really important to make sure that you keep that in mind. As a reminder, you need that on laptops, workstations, servers, you name it, it needs antivirus. Next one. I also talk fast, so I'm glad we're all keeping up here. Email security, your biggest vulnerability is going to be your people. And the easiest way for someone to get into your network is through your email inbox. And so it is important to invest in training for your users, whether that is your user of 1 or your company of 250 to your company of 5,000. People need to know what to open, what to delete, and how to analyze it to know if it's something fishy. Smaller organizations, size 1 to 250, have the highest targeted rate of malicious email. And so again, just because you're small, that doesn't mean that you don't need to worry about these things. So if I was you, I would invest in training, and that doesn't have to be dollars, that can just be time, by bringing someone in or using free resources on YouTube to look at how do I detect a phishing email of any capacity. You can invest in an anti-spam tool, and often, depending on what email you're using or where you're hosting your email tool, companies like Microsoft have some anti-spam offerings either built in or that you can add on for additional protection. And then lastly, create healthy email habits that can help eliminate any like impersonation attempts or anything like that that could potentially lose your company data or money. Lastly, backups. The average ransomware payment that was paid by companies that fell victim to ransomware in Q4 of 2019 was $84,000. And that would be extremely crippling for most small businesses, especially as they are starting out. I know that I would not be happy about writing an $84,000 check, and I certainly don't want to be on the higher side of that. And the way that you avoid that is by not needing to pay the bad guys to get your data back. You don't have to pay the bad guys if you have a backup somewhere of that you can restore from and you're off and running. So making sure that you have a good backup strategy for not only your laptop or desktop, but also your server. And also if you're using a cloud storage tool is super important. There's a 3-2-1 rule that I like to repeat. So you want 3 copies of your data, 1 primary, 2 backup. You want 2 types of storage media being used in that, and you want 1 of them to be offsite. So thankfully with cloud adoption being so strong right now, the cloud is a great way to have a backup copy of your data from your premise server, your laptop, anything like that. But you definitely want to make sure that that's something you're considering to protect yourself, because it's not if, it's when the bad guys are going to get in. So that's my doomsday speech on security, but I wanted to make sure, because that honestly, I really truly think that that's an area that small businesses are impacted, that they're not prepared for. And there's these small and low investment ways that you can secure your business and be able to focus on what's next. Back to you, Kirsten.
Not totally doomsday, but you had some fun things in there.
Yeah.
Stats. So actually I'm going to switch from having a presentation and ditch that and then just focus in on all of you as speakers. So a question did come in while you guys were talking from Melissa. As a woman in tech, how can I get more involved with helping and educating K-12 girls specifically to ensure that we continue upwards trend with women in tech? I think either of you, if you want to take that one. No rush.
Teresa will do a great job answering that.
I saw that question, Melissa, and I was like, Melissa, I know what you're doing here. Melissa, thank you for asking that question. So there are a plethora and many amazing nonprofits and ways that you can get involved and help, you know, that particular demographic to get more involved with tech. One at Microsoft is TechSpark, and we do a camp every year for young women to come onto campus and have like it's a whole week. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably saying the wrong thing. I can get you more specifics, where they come on campus and they do really great things all involved with technology. There are nonprofits. Oh, now I'm going blank, of course, because you put me on the spot.
You Code Girl is one of them locally.
Thank you. You Code Girl, because I was thinking of another organization that they have programming to help younger women get involved with STEM and get involved with technology as well. And of course, you heard in my bio that I am a co-founder of a nonprofit called Arise Communities, and our focus is on girls age 16 and plus. And so once they go through these amazing programs that they have that I mentioned before, they can come and work with us as well, where we can help them on their journey to get involved with more technology.
Crushed it. Megan, do you have anything to add?
No, honestly, I think you covered them. And I think that that's such a great question, because I wish that there had been more options that I was aware of when I was growing up. And so I think it's huge that there are more organizations that are very visible in our community. And I am hopeful that we're going to see even more. And honestly, some existing organizations begin to bring technology focus into them as well. So I think it's fantastic. And thank you guys for what you're doing with the Rise Communities.
We have a lot of fun.
Thank you. Yeah, we do.
If anybody has any specific questions, feel free to enter them into the Q&A portion of the webinar. Otherwise, I got a bunch of other questions we're going to tackle. Okay, so let's just start with the softball. What is the #1 question that you get from clients when you hop on the phone? What's the first thing they're asking you?
not to go back to the conversation about security, but honestly, I have clients go, how do I know that I'm secure? How do I know that I'm not going to get hacked? And that's no matter what conversation we were having previously. We could be talking about networking. We could be talking about wireless access points. People want to know how they can make sure that they're not going to be a victim like they've seen in the news. And so that's why, honestly, that's something I'm really passionate about, is helping to educate people the simple, easy things that they can do to be more secure, both in their professional life and their personal lives, because we have a lot of personal data that we don't want to get out there either. But that's why High Point also has developed a few different security assessments that help businesses be able to basically take a step back, take a broad look at what you're doing from a security perspective, and then put together short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals to help reach the point that you want to be. There's a lot of guidance out there, but there's a lot of acronyms that most people don't know what they stand for, and that's okay, because we'll let the nerdy people do that. But that's a really frequent topic that I end up tackling.
A topic that I get a lot, and when I talk to customers, they immediately want to know, how can they save costs? How can they save money with their technology? And, in order to save money, you have to know how you're spending it. And so I let customers know, I understand that you want to save money, but if we don't know what you're spending it on, I can't help you save it. And so within Azure, there's a lot of great things that are available to our customers to be able for them to monitor their usage and see how they're spending their money. And then that will help them then find ways to cut some of that or allocate funds into a different way for them as well. So that's a question that I get a lot of times from customers.
Got another question from Melissa. Keep them coming. Keep them coming our way. How did both of you get into tech roles, and did you see yourselves in tech when you first got started?
No, I'll go. I'm going to be honest with you. I went to school for hospitality and tourism. I did not major anywhere within tech, but then my sophomore year of college, I got my laptop went kaput and I lost everything on it. And I had to buy a new computer. And that experience at a retail store sparked my interest in technology. And I knew I wanted to work for that company. And it took a while. And I finally got a job at that retail store. And that has opened up my eyes and has helped me to get to where I am today. So that one interaction that I had at a retail store got me to where I am right now in my technology career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my undergrad is in public relations and multimedia journalism. So naturally that usually doesn't translate to a technology career. But honestly, as I've reflected on why I love my job so much when I thought that I was going to go such a different direction, is I think it comes back to my passion for people and communication. And that technology is a tool that helps us all do that. And so I think I love that my work every day helps companies be able to be more efficient, more effective, more productive, and ultimately communicate better with each other and their customers. And so I never would have thought that's something I would be passionate about, but I think it's pretty dang cool. A lot of it, a lot of the details, like I said, acronyms have had to come, as it comes, and you just learn something new every day. And when you know better, you do better. But I think it's a really cool sphere to be in and be a part of, and be a part of those high level business conversations. I learn something new every day, and I think I would struggle with not having that in a lot of other careers out there.
We'll jump back into some of our other questions. I think you both kind of touched on this a little bit in your little prepared stuff, but when it comes to investing in technology and when you're shopping around, what are some of those red flags that business owners should be aware of when they're looking and comparing and looking at different pieces of technology?
I've got something on that. One thing that initially comes to my mind with that is I've seen small businesses specifically get stuck in contract terms that they weren't fully prepared for. So for example, like say a hosted phone system, and then their needs change or their users change, and they end up locked in for a longer period than they wanted to be. And some organizations are really inflexible when it comes to those contracts. So especially when you're unsure of what your level of growth looks like, even if there are cost savings for longer term contracts, sometimes it can actually be smarter and cheaper in the long run to take shorter contract periods and then negotiate at renewal time. Otherwise, say your business need changes and you're stuck paying that monthly cost for 24 months that you're not prepared for. So that is, it's unfortunately something I've seen before, and that is a really easy thing to be able to avoid.
I was going to say the same thing. Make sure that you read your contract terms and understand what those things are before you sign the dotted line. It's just like with anything else. You wouldn't buy a house without knowing what's, having an inspection. Don't go into a long-term contract when it comes to technology without reading the terms of that agreement. And like Megan said, see if you can get not a full annual 12 months, but see if you can do a shorter term contract and then renegotiate at renewal to ensure that, because things can change, just like that. So you want to make sure that you can renegotiate based on where you are at that time, not where you think you might be long-term.
I think this next question really is tailored to those that, sorry, my dog is trying to say hello in the background. So just ignore him. But when we think about what a small business is, and I think that what that classifies as a small business ranges from every person you're talking to. But I think one question that you have when you're sort of in that scaling or growth of your business is, should I hire or outsource my IT needs? And if I am outsourcing, what do I need to consider in that whole process? What are some of the good questions I should be asking?
I can jump in there. That's a really common question, and it's really hard when you want to justify bringing on a full-time hire. So just speaking off the cuff, and this is absolutely high level, just some generalizations that I've seen, and this is obviously very dependent on the nature of your business. But usually I don't see folks looking to make a technology or an IT hire until they're in that like 25 to 50 people range. Oftentimes before that, people choose and see greater value in outsourcing, or at least having an IT contact that maybe isn't fully managing everything for them, but it's a resource that they can call in as they need stuff. That said, once you hit, again, very dependent on what kind of business you have. If you have a software company, obviously you're going to need someone that can manage that software for you. But oftentimes I see best value in there being some sort of technology advocate or IT advocate that's in the organization that can be the first line of defense. So that's going to be someone that can at least keep a general baseline of what's been purchased, what are contract terms, who is your internet provider, and can just kind of manage all the pieces. And then that will give you a better experience for the pieces of the puzzle that you want to outsource. There are companies that do a really good job with fully outsourced IT, but depending on the nature of your business or how many unique applications you have, sometimes that's not the best fit.
And I agree with you, Megan. And some questions that you would want to ask, depending on if you keep it in-house or if you outsource, you always want to make sure that you meet with that person. And sometimes it may take more than once, having more than one conversation with them. You want to ask them a little bit about their background, and if they've maybe have worked with someone in a particular or a similar to what you're doing. My words are not coming out tonight, everybody, so please forgive me. So let me start that again. You want to ensure that that person has worked in a similar industry that you're working in, and that they've managed that IT before, because there's different nuances depending on what you're doing and what industry you are in as well. So you want to see if that person has experience in that industry, and then you also want to ask them, what are your hours? How many, when do you reply to things? If it's critical, when do you do that? So those are some of the other questions that I would ensure that if you're going to outsource, you can't, because you want to ensure that you can get a hold of the person that is managing your IT if you have a critical need for your business.
Absolutely. 24-hour access, or the only 8 to 5? Like, can I call you whenever? Call me, beat me if you want to reach me. What's happening?
One thing I want to add to that before we move to the next question too is keep in mind, even if you outsource your IT, you are still responsible for your contracts, for your software contracts, what you your data, and if for some reason you were to have a breach of some sort, you're the one that's responsible there. Unless it's a very specific circumstance, it's not going to be your IT folks. So thus, it's still very important to be engaged in the technology that you're investing in for your business.
Absolutely. Just because you have a person doing it does not mean you're not liable for the situation.
I love that, Megan. I think a lot of times people don't even think about that as well. So that's a really, really good suggestion.
You probably both can answer this question because you both have exposure into cloud solutions. But when people are thinking about moving off from on-premise to cloud solutions, why should they be moving to the cloud? Should it be a private cloud? Should it be a public cloud? What are the differences? Does it matter? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yes, you should absolutely go into the cloud. When you think about it, when you have on-prem or your servers, everything is on-prem, you're responsible for doing the patchwork, the security updates. You're responsible if that goes down and you have to replace it, you have to buy a new piece of hardware. You're responsible for you're responsible for that hardware that you have on-prem. When you move into the cloud, it takes a lot of that off. You don't have to deal with that. You can deal with the actual technology that your business is running on. And so you don't have to think about the security patches and the updates and things like that, because you're paying for the ability to have that already taken care of you, so you don't have to think about it. And then also, when you think about how workforces now with COVID here, being in the cloud for a lot of businesses has saved them, because they're able to not have to shut down, but it's like business as usual. They maybe have to add some virtual machines or have to scale up, but they can continue to have business as usual with their workforce in different states, at home, and whatever that is. And so that's another reason why you should move into the cloud. And then I don't want to say it's like the shiny new thing, but if you think about it, technology is always evolving, and having on-prem technology is kind of outdated, and going into the cloud is where you should be thinking about where your business needs to live.
Yeah, I agree with so much of what you just shared. I think that a lot of our clients, especially depending on how large you get, we see a lot of our clients choosing kind of a hybrid approach. There are some resources that make 150% to move to the cloud for the exact reasons that Teresa said. The mobility that you get and the options that you get for providing a mobile workforce, for flexible work options, is huge. Not to mention that there are some things that housing them in your own server and managing that can get time intensive and expensive. And so I agree entirely that there are things that make sense to move to the cloud. And that's just part of why working with a technology partner like a High Point Networks, there's a lot of other ones in town, or even reaching out to someone at Microsoft to be able to help walk you through your options can be really helpful. And there are people that are willing to help kind of consult on those things at no cost until there's time for a purchase or a move to happen. What else was I going to say? I had another thought there. Oh, to the point that Teresa made when she was speaking initially also about scalability, oftentimes the cloud is the simplest and more cost-effective way to scale as well. So it's a lot easier to provision just one more user, one more license, as opposed to purchase another piece of hardware for someone. So that's another thing, especially as you're not sure what your growth or your expenses or any of those things are going to look like, especially in a brand new business. It is a very easy way to kind of keep track of your expenses on an operational basis.
I have my next question is one that I know the answer to, but I'm sure you guys get this question. Just being in tech, I feel like maybe those that aren't super versed in tech will be like, oh, so can you fix my website? And where do I start with taking my business online? Go for it.
I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. And so there are so many resources that can help. And then, we always ask a question. Are you looking to update your website, or is there an issue? Is there a technical issue? And so, that's when you begin to get into ask those questions to kind of point the person in the right direction, because you don't want to give them a front-end developer if they're having a technical issue. And so my suggestion would be to use the amazing internet that we have, and you can do a great search, and then you can even refine your search to where you are right in the city that you're in, to help you, to give you a whole list of businesses that can help with that as well. And Megan, you can take the other question if you want.
Oh, I was just going to say, retweet what you just said. I am not a web developer. We don't employ any web developers. That's not our jam here at High Point. There are some fantastic, both individual users that work on a freelance basis, and also companies that do website work that, whether that's a front-end developer, whether that's someone that can help you with break fix, there are fantastic people out there. I don't think either of those people are on this call right now. Not to speak for you, Teresa. But if that is something that, depending on, again, that's an area where I'd question how critical is your website to your day-to-day business. If you're an e-commerce company, that's how your dollar bills come in. And so it's important to partner with someone and potentially look at contracting someone that can be working with you on those updates to make sure that you have uptime, because that downtime is going to cost dollars in that scenario. If your website is a landing page that is used to kind of direct or market or just to help direct traffic, that might be an area where you don't need to have as high of an investment in that. Again, very industry depending, but those are just things to keep in mind as you're talking about websites. And that's really all that I know on the topic of websites.
I know.
There was a second question in there, right?
How do I start, or where do I start by taking my business online?
Sorry that I missed that. Gosh, frankly, that's not really a subject matter area that I know a lot about. I think that especially during COVID, we've seen the need for that. So I think it's a wonderful question. Specifically how to do that strategy planning and make that move. It's not my subject matter expert area.
I would say it depends on what part of your business you're trying to take online. Do you want to take your, have an online presence? Do you need to be able to collaborate with people, your team? Do you need to have tools that you can be productive to make phone calls, to chat with other people, to have a place where your documents are stored? Those would be some of the follow-up questions I would ask. At Microsoft, we would love to talk to you about how our products can help you to begin to move your business online. And that's just a matter of reaching out on the contact us form, and we'll get you to the right people to begin that conversation, because that question can open up the dialogue for so much, and we can spend a long time, even this evening, time that we don't have. And so we want to make sure that we get you into the right hands that can help you on that journey.
It's definitely a Pandora's box question. Let's take it back to our security level sort of questions. Do I need a disaster recovery or continuity plan, and what does that even mean?
Yeah, like I was talking about earlier, specifically around, backup is one area that you need to consider in a disaster recovery and business continuity plan, making sure that you have secondary access to the files and the databases that are important for your business. An example that I'll give is I had a conversation very recently with a client who primarily used Dropbox for all of their files, Dropbox is a fantastic tool. But I asked her, okay, what happens if someone gets the password to your Dropbox and decides to delete all of those files? you are in a pickle, and suddenly you are beholden to whoever that person is that was able to crack your password to be able to get all of your business documents back. And that's not a situation I want you to be in. So that's where I kind of said there's a couple different things you can look at. First, let's secure whatever the access to get to that stuff is. But then let's have secondary options available if for some reason someone got to that data in the first place. So a lot of different solutions out there. It really depends on what tools you're using for your document management in the first place. So that's one conversation around disaster recovery business continuity. Another area is, again, very dependent on what your business is, but you can also plan for some business continuity and disaster recovery around power, so like battery backups, and also with dual internet connections. Oftentimes, if the internet is down at your business, you're not doing anything unless it's like working on a Microsoft Word file on your computer. So if accessing anything on the internet, or potentially receiving incoming phone calls, depending on how you operate that, all of those things can be very limiting if your internet connection gets impacted or your network is down. So those are all areas that you can plan for extra areas of redundancy, whether that's a secondary internet connection, whether that is redundant firewalls that comes into, whether that is like multiple power supplies on a switch. You can get crazy, but those are all questions to ask just based around how expensive would it be, or how annoying, I guess, would it be for you to have any sort of downtime. So just a couple thoughts there.
And also, another thing, when companies are moving into the cloud, you also want to think about the data center that you're in. Are you a West Coast business, but your data center is in the East Coast? That can cause some latency, but then do you have redundancy so that if something on the East Coast happens, it goes over into a West Coast data center, or even a Midwest data center? So those are some questions as well that you want to ask when it comes to the redundancy. Not only those are great with the internet, but you also want to think about the data center as well, because that's the back end to ensure that everything is running as well. So you want to ask those questions.
Absolutely. I have a furry friend that always wants to join us. So how about, this is maybe more question for you, Teresa. If I run a restaurant or a retail store or an auto shop, are there communication tools that I should be using with my staff or considering to implement?
I would say yes, you have to communicate and you have to collaborate, even in those industries as well. I would take a step back and kind of look at how you're collaborating and communicating naturally, and seeing if using an online tool is beneficial for you. In the restaurant industry, you make your money when you seat people at a table and people in the back of the house that are cooking the products, the food for the customer. So you want to think about, how does that look when you're trying to communicate with everybody? Do you want to communicate with the folks that do your books during the daytime, or how do you want that to look? So that's one way that I would just say, first you want to see how you're naturally communicating, and then see if having an actual online tool would be beneficial for you all. And so you have to do an assessment first. You can't just say, oh, we're going to buy this and everybody's going to go on it and it's going to be great. You have to see how naturally you're doing things, and seeing if having a tool that you're going to purchase is going to be beneficial and enhance your team, what they're already doing, and make them even more productive.
I just have something very small to add to that, is especially when it comes to communication tools and productivity tools, you see so much app spread these days with using a different app for everything. So you have an app that you use for chat, and you have an app that you use for calling, and that's different than the one that you're using for like managing the specific project. And so that's why looking for technologies that can loop all of that into one place, A, will probably save you money, and B, you will have better user adaptation, which means that it's going to be better money spent for you. Those are good things to look at, because there's going to be an app for everything, but it doesn't mean it's the app for you. So just some things to think about there.
Yeah, that was the first point. You want to have an all-in-one piece. And that's why, I said, look at all of the tabs that you have open. Look at what you naturally are doing in your day-to-day, and see if there is a tool, Microsoft Teams, that will be an all-in-one and cut all of that out for you.
Microsoft is not a sponsor of this session. Just kidding. So we just have about like 8-ish minutes left. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. But if not, do you guys have any parting thoughts, some lessons learned, a few nuggets to leave everybody with that you haven't already given away?
I was gonna say, I think Teresa kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, but I would just say, never be afraid to ask questions. You know, it's okay to not know. And knowledge is going to be power as you continue to grow. And the nature of business in 2020 and beyond is that technology is going to be a part of your business no matter what that looks like. So ask questions. You know, no question is a dumb question, and just be willing to learn and pick up tricks as you go. So the fact that you are joining something like this in the first place is huge. Don't be overwhelmed. Just dive in and pick up nuggets of information along the way.
As I always say, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And so if you don't open up your mouth, you're not going to get what you need. And so you got to be step out and be a little bit bold and ask questions, and, you know, say, I was wondering if we can look at a number at like this. Don't be afraid to negotiate either. That's another thing. Just don't be afraid to negotiate, because just don't be afraid to do it.
Fun fact, just don't be afraid. Other people are probably asking the same question. So once you just raise your hand and put yourself out there, you're helping yourself and others out. So I just want to say thank you. Do you guys have anything else? You unmuted yourself.
I like one last final thought,
okay.
And of course, working at High Point, it's my job to do this, but there are resources out there that are here to help you analyze your options and help you budget, talk through what options are available. So use those. You know, that's literally why we're here. And I know Teresa alluded to the same thing. If you have questions, do the contact me form on Microsoft. They'll get you in touch with someone that can be there, but you're also not alone in this. So reach out to partners that are available. That's literally what we do for a living. So we can, you know, either answer your question or connect you with another business that has encountered the same thing, or just be a sounding board. So just, yeah, don't be afraid to reach out and use resources too. That is all.
Perfect. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you panelists for taking time out of your evening. Again, I'm just gonna make one more plug. Give us your thoughts and your feedback in the survey. We want to keep our programs great and keep improving. Just take a moment and fill out that survey for today's session. Thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate it. Have a great evening. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.